everybody and welcome back to another video. I'm here with a tag video and this is the Creatures of the Night tag. This tag was, I think as we all know, created by Kat over at Catty-tastic. I will of course link everything down below, and this was such a great tag. Seriously, how did nobody else think of this tag? Like, what? Essentially this tag takes 10 different paranormal supernatural creatures and you get to recommend or pick one favorite book involving that creature. So let's just dive right on in. Number 1, vampire. I've read a lot of books with vampires in them. They happen to be one of my favorite supernatural creatures to read about, but I think if I had to pick a favorite and one that really sticks with me, it would be Let the Right One In by John Ajvide Lindqvist. I've probably said that poor man's name so wrong. I do know it is translated out of Swedish. Well, let me see if I can mispronounce the Swedish title for you. Låt den rätte komma. Yeah, I probably said that so wrong. This is a story that centers on a relationship between a 12-year-old boy named Oscar and a centuries-old vampire child named Eli. It takes place in a working-class suburb of Stockholm in the early 1980s. It's an amazing book, and really, I don't know enough people who've read it. I don't really know anybody who's read it. I think a lot of people are familiar with the Hollywood adaptation, which was Let Me In. There was also an adaptation done in Sweden, which has the correct title of Let the Right One In. And both are really good and they have their own merits, but I think the book is astounding. It's one of my favorite ways I've ever seen vampires approached because yes, while vampires are in it, it's not necessarily about vampires. It's more about the darker side of humanity and things like existential anxiety and alcoholism and bullying, even like pedophilia and murder and all sorts of other things. It is an amazing book. If you haven't read it, go check it out. The second creature on this list is the werewolf, and I'm gonna have to say I've never read too many books with werewolves in them, but if I had to pick my favorite books with like werewolves as a focal point, then I'm probably gonna have to pick Sinner by Maggie Stiefvater. This is her companion novel to her Wolves of Mercy Falls series, and of that series I've actually only just listened to the first book, Shiver, and while I like Shiver, I enjoyed Sinner a little bit more. I think it was because I liked the characters a little bit more, but I loved the idea of these werewolves being limited by their internal body temperature. If they get too cold, that's what triggers their change. So Sinner takes place a lot of the time in like California and stuff like that, so it's more about the characters, even though yes, they are werewolves. Number 3, zombies. Fun fact about me, I hate zombies. Really, I've never understood the appeal of zombies. I've never been fascinated by them. I don't like zombie movies, but there is one zombie book I do like. Warm Bodies by Isaac Marion. I only read this book because I did admittedly see the movie first, but that's because I did not actually realize it was a book. And trust me, it took a lot of convincing to even get me to go see that movie because the moment I heard it was about zombies, I wasn't interested. Then somebody showed me the trailer and I heard the inner monologue that Nicholas Hoult kept up for the character of R the whole time, and I thought it was really funny, and I was like, okay, we'll go see it. And I loved it. And so I of course ended up picking up the book, and I thought the book was just as cute and funny and just actually a really good book on zombies. Number 4, ghosts. I'm just gonna keep doing crazy hand motions and voices for every single one of these characters. For the books about ghosts, I chose the Shades of London series by Maureen Johnson. So the first book, The Name of the Star, the second book, The Madness Underneath, and the prequel novella to both of those that is known as The Boy in the Smoke. The third book, The Shadow Cabinet, is coming out in January and I need it now. Oh my god. The ghosts in this story are both benign and malevolent, and the story centers around an American student from Louisiana who is studying abroad in London and who teams up with this secret branch of the police who investigate paranormal occurrences. Specifically ghosts. Each of these people on this team have all had some sort of near-death experience which has now given them the ability to see and interact with ghosts. It's extremely spooky and the danger gets super real. Oh my goodness, it would freak me out when I was at the end. I would just keep reading, and the ending of the second book had me shouting at the book. I was shouting at the madness underneath. I was. We all know, I'm not over it. I'm not over it. Number 5, which warlock spellcaster? I mean, is there any other answer besides Harry Potter? Next question. Fairy or fae? I don't actually read that much with fairies, now that I think on it. Hold on. Come on, books, help me out. I have to have fairy or fae in here somewhere. Oh, I can think of one. I'm going to pick the Guardians of Childhood series by William Joyce, starting with the 3rd book, which is Toothiana, Queen of the Tooth Fairy Armies. Yes, it is a book about the Tooth Fairy. It's awesome. If you haven't read it, you need to read the series. I always talk about this series. It's absolutely amazing. It has pictures on the inside that are absolutely stunning, and all the stories are just so good. Just so good, and the story of the Tooth Fairy is really cool. It's like inspired by India, and it's awesome. Oh, it's just so good. Number 7, demons. I'm actually going to combine number 7 and number 8, which is demons and angels, because I think they go pretty hand in hand. Usually if you have one, you kind of end up getting the other in some respect, and that's a really easy one for me. I'm going to be picking the entirety of the Shadowhunter Chronicles by Cassandra Clare. So this is including the Mortal Instruments, the Infernal Devices, the Shadowhunters Codex, the Bane Chronicles, and the upcoming The Last Hours, the Dark Artifices, and the Shadowhunter Academy. Whew, that was a lot to say. I include the entirety of this world because it is about Shadowhunters, or Nephilim, who are descended from angels and they battle demons all the time. Actual angels show up, and if you're on BookTube and have not read this series, I'm 1, very impressed, and 2, very worried, because you should. So number 9 is aliens. Don't read that many books with aliens either. This was really not a smart tag for me to do. Thankfully, there is at least one book or series that I can pick, and that is the Across the Universe trilogy by Beth Revis. Not to give away any spoilers, but aliens do get involved. They're kind of aliens. I'm gonna count them as aliens. If you've read the 3rd book, you know what I'm talking about. I'm counting them as aliens. You cannot stop me. Because if I don't say that, then I'm pretty certain I am limited strictly to Obsidian by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and I still don't really know how I feel about that book. So I suppose I could pick that one, because that wouldn't be a horrid choice. And finally, number 10, Superpowered Human. Oh, I mean, Vicious by V.E. Schwab. Duh! That book was so good and involves supervillains. I mean, 1, awesome sauce, 2, double awesome sauce. But it was so good, it had me laughing maniacally like I was some freaking supervillain in a comic book movie. Oh, that ending. That ending was so good. But that is it for me and the Creatures of the Night tag. I am not going to tag anyone in particular, just because I usually don't, and when I have to think up names on the fly, it never happens. But go off and do it. Lots of people are already doing it, but go and do it because it's fun, and I think this is a good way to introduce people to all sorts of different books that maybe they haven't read, involving all the great paranormal supernatural creatures. But that is it for me tonight, you guys, and so until next time, cheers.